Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today we're going to be taking a look at our run in the Eggman tournament, doing a little bit of VOD review of the Renji Rush matches. The reason I want to do this is not only because, you know, highlighting the deck and showing you all what the deck is capable of, how you kind of play this deck a little bit, but also kind of looking at my misplays. I'm not going to admit that I played this tournament completely perfect. I definitely made some mistakes. So kind of reviewing myself a little bit after the tournament and kind of like noticing some of the things that I did that maybe I shouldn't have done, or etc., or maybe some things that I did really well that maybe some people wouldn't think of. So not necessarily like a commentary video like I usually do for like One Piece and stuff, more of a heavier analysis in this one. So I'm actually facing Toshiro in this matchup. This is a blind matchup for me, but I did not win the dice roll. I lost the dice roll and was forced to go second, which I don't think is a bad thing in the Union Arena when you're going into a blind matchup right now, especially if you're not playing Kurapika. Now, I will say before we get into it, I don't know exactly my starting hand, but I know in this starting hand, I had Urahara, starter deck Ichigo, the 0-cost Uryu, the Orihime, and a 3-cost Ichigo. So knowing those in my hand, I opted to keep it. I will say the perfect curve, right? The first couple cards that you love to see, the Uryu, the Urahara, and the Orihime, definitely give benefits in the start of the match for you, especially if you're going first. I was unfortunately going second, so did not see that. But going into my turn now, I'm going to go ahead, use Uryu. This is pretty much always the first card that you do. You get to see another card, do a little bit of hand filtering on stuff. I'm going to get rid of a 0-cost Renji, just really opting to keep some of the big bodies in my hand and establish a 2-energy character in Orihime. And so now in this one, I think he's just going to put down a couple different characters, try to establish his board a little bit, get a couple Toshiros. So the idea of this Bleach deck, if you do not know, is to get to 4 energy as fast as possible. That's why you like going first, right? Because the Urahara on your 3 action point turn is going to go ahead and get you to 4. So in my second turn going second, I already know that I have an Urahara in hand, so I'm actually going to play the Uryu, just see another card, see all the different options that I have, then go ahead, play this Uryu to get to 5 energy overall. So next turn on my 3 action point turn, I can start laying down some bodies. So I believe he pushes something up, this Toshiro right here. This Toshiro, I believe, is 3,000. Except if you've got 6 or more 13 court characters, and he plays down a couple characters. He plays down this one right here. This character has step. It's a 2,000 power character. And then this character right here, I think it's Sue, something like that, but it's a 2,500 power character with damage 2. So that's going to have to be something that I look out for in the coming turns, because I definitely don't want to take too much damage in this right away. So after playing the Bankai, he's going to get 2 more action points, and right there he's just going to play one of those Kenpachis down. Kenpachi, such a good card, especially in this early game for potential impact life. And obviously with the swing, he's just going to get a life in general. It's going to be Urahara, so add up to the trash. So trash is about 3 now, I believe. I'm going to push up potentially the Uryu. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to draw first. Pretty sure I have a Bankai in this hand, so I'm going to go for the draw. Usually you probably wouldn't want to draw with this hand, and there's definitely an argument as to not drawing in general, right? Because every time you draw, you don't have a body that you can put down. But I opted to do it because I have Bankai in hand. Right now that I'm at 4 energy, I am going to Bankai and get 2 back and go back to a regular 3 to be able to, I believe in this turn, I just throw down 3 different characters. But thinking about what I want to do, there is opportunities for different cards, especially after playing certain things down, like I could do Getsuga Tencho, stuff like that. If I get an Ichigo down on the field first, obviously, to get rid of that Kenpachi, because I know that Kenpachi is going to cause a little bit of issues the longer it sticks around. But I'm going to start off, just playing down these characters, playing down these vanilla characters. So this is another big thing with this deck. Once you hit that 4 energy mark, just spew out different 4,000 power characters, because now look at this board compared to mine, right? He's got a 4,000 power character, right, that can swing, has impact, so probably going to be taking a life here. But this character right here, unless it's rated on top of, it's only going to be at 3,500 max, probably, I would say, in the turn. So is one of those things that, like, playing down a whole bunch of bodies, you know, this being 2,000, this being 2,500, just laying down a bunch of these characters and establishing these bodies as blockers can be so beneficial in the game. So I'm just doing a 1,500 swing. I know he's going to block, but you always got to skill check your opponent in a sense. It literally, there's no downside really to swinging for the most part, I would say. But going now into his turn right here, I think he has a pretty good turn, actually, or a pretty decent turn, I would say, in this one. Does decide to draw and move up the damage guy. So the damage guy alongside this gal is a pretty good idea, especially if you've got some removal going on, in my opinion. Decides to play down another one of those step ladies. Ads on my own videos. I don't understand. How come I get ads on my own videos? But going to be continuing. He's got one action point left until he plays this Bankai. Already seen 2 Bankais, especially at this stage of the game, is really, really nice. Going to play that Shinsui, I believe his name is. Giving a character impact, and I believe he actually gives it to the Kenpachi right now. Yeah, he gives it to the Kenpachi, which if I'm my opponent, I probably wouldn't put it on the Kenpachi, because here's how this interaction works, right? If Kenpachi swings and I decide to block, right, with this Uryu right here, I will take 2 life. Right, because he has impact 2, because he already has one and he gains another one off of the Shinsui. If he decides to swing and I choose not to block, I just take 1 life, right? The impact 2 does not matter if you're not opting to block and battle. So this card right here, though, is going to be really good. He's going to play a Captain's Coat on this. Captain's Coat gives everybody plus 1,000 and then draws a card. So if I was him on that turn, I probably would have given the Shinsui impact to this guy right here, because now this gal, this step gal, is 3,000. This double damage character is 3,500, and now he's got 2 people over 4,000. One of them has 2 impacts, one of them does not. So, like, again, a huge reason why you want to play just a bunch of vanilla bodies if you can, the starter deck Ichigos and the Rukias, is now I can block, like, I can only take 1 life this turn in this situation instead of maybe 3 or something like that, because I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this life right here, because I don't want to take more than 1 on a block. I'll block with this guy right here, and then I'll just block the other two small, less than 4,000 characters if he decides to swing. So that's exactly how this is going to go, if memory serves me correctly. And if I did this right, actually, I could have maybe done this wrong, but he is going to have the impact 2 on there. So if I do block, and I think I'm just clarifying this right now, that if I block, I take 2 life. So I'm just going to opt for the 1. Nice Ichigo going back to hand. And so now he's going ahead. He's swinging this one first, which I believe I just do with the Uryu, right? Only want to take 1 life, and then he's going to just pass the turn, because he's like, well, if I swing with these other 2, you're just going to block with your big bodies, and we move into my turn. And so now going into my turn right here, I'm still at 4 energy, so a really, really nice spot right now, and I'm going to start off playing that Ichigo, going to 5 and Bankai, so give myself back another one. I do not do an extra draw, which I think is interesting in that one, not choosing to draw when I have a Bankai, because I feel like I've noticed that I usually take an extra draw when I Bankai, which I don't think, as I mentioned earlier, is always correct. But I'm going to play another one to get this Ichigo down, the double energy Ichigo, counting on my trash. I believe I have 6 in the trash right now. I'm going to go ahead and raid with this Ichigo. So this Ichigo right here, this is the removal one, and this is the time that you kind of want to be playing this card to get rid of 4,000 power bodies. So I'm going to get rid of that Kenpachi. It's easily the biggest threat, I would say, on the field right now, and now I have a full 4 with 1 action point left to play down this Urahara. So I'm playing down this Urahara right here just to give myself more energy. I'm going to be sitting at 5, right? So this gives me the flexibility with this second Urahara here that if I decide to push up this Ichigo, right, because this Ichigo swings 4,000, if he plays a Toshiro and rests my entire backline, I'm still going to be at least 4 energy without playing anything else down, because this Urahara, if you do not know, when it becomes active, it gains an energy. So if it gets stuck in rested, that's again where, you know, it could go wrong. So I'm swinging in and I get a this thing or whatever. One of the things that I should have done in this is, I think one thing that you should do in this situation, so think about how this deck goes. I always want to build up my trash as fast as possible, right? So then I can get these removal effects off and I can get rid of my opponent's board, especially their big bodies. What you should do is you should swing with this Ichigo last. And the reason I say that is because this is the special trigger, right? This is the sideline any one of your opponent's character. He is more than likely going to choose a character that has not swung yet to minimize the amount of damage that he takes this turn. Either one of these 2 characters is only going to net me 1 card in the trash. But if I decided to swing from left to right from our perspective, right, swung here, got the first life, swung here, got this trigger, there's a possibility that he may decide to get this Ichigo right here. You always want this Ichigo, the one with the most cards to swing last, because if you do get a special trigger right procced, you want to almost force them to give you more cards in your trash, right? Because trashing this character would be 2 cards in comparison to this Ichigo or the Rukia, which would be 1 card. So I believe he gets rid of one of the Ichigo that's still standing. I think the 2 starter deck Ichigos in the Rukia are vanilla, so they don't have any other effects, just showing him that that one is the main set one that has the removal. Also technically a vanilla right now, but he's going to get rid of that Ichigo smartly, and with this as well, he's going to get another life off of that Rukia. Just a, I believe, 3,000 in active, so at the end of the swings does not matter in a sense. And you know, getting, I believe, 3 life on that on my 4 swings, definitely love to see that, but could have definitely played that a little bit better. So he's going to promote the impact gaining guy. It's just a 3,000 power body, so not very difficult to block in my opinion, and going to play, this is the extra energy guy on the back, so not really worried about him swinging at all. But he does at this point have like Toshiro, right? Because he's got enough characters. I think he's counting them up right now. And yeah, this is where he's going to raid. So this is where in the Toshiro, right, you get to rest a character on the front line and rest the entire back line and freeze them. So it is going to kind of put me in a stickier situation, right? Because I lose out on a block, and also that Ichigo on the bench will not swing. He's going to choose, if smartly, he's going to choose that Ichigo right there. And one of the reasons, if you're playing Toshiro, you always want to do the character that's rated, for the same simple reason that I said of the order of swinging that I should do. You don't want me to block with this Ichigo on like a 4,000 power swing, right? Because it's 2 cards into the trash. So resting this character kind of like not only freezes it in my turn of not being able to attack with it, but also freezes it in the sense of I can't block with this guy and build up my trash. So smart move by my opponent there on a freezing that character specifically instead of the other 4,000s that I have. But just going to be checking all the power levels now that we're in the attack phase. None of the power levels can change. I'm going to get an Uryu off this trigger, draw a card. I usually like taking life first and then going in and blocking with the different attacks, because especially if it's a special trigger, right, I could either 1, get the big character on the field, or 2, what I can do if there's like another 4,000 power character, not in this situation, but if there was, I would be able to get another character out and prevent another life being taken. Because in this situation, right, I still have to finalize this swing. He's got 3 swings to my 2 blockers on field. So even though none of these characters are 4,000 power, I'm going to be losing a life off of this. So I go ahead and block with Ichigo. This is a smart decision in my opinion. If you're in a situation like this where you have a bunch of baby characters, right, and you can save your blockers and you know you're going to take at least 1 more life, go ahead and block first. So then if you get an active plus 3,000, it's basically like a double blocker, right, with the double block. So that's one of the things that I do in this play. I'm definitely going to take this one because I don't want to take the double damage, right? So going to be taking this one, going to go down to 3 life. A little bit scary, but going to get a color Ichigo trigger. So I didn't know this at the time, and I'm really like struggling about it in this moment. But just so everybody knows, you don't actually have to use a trigger. I thought when I was, especially in this tournament, I thought that you had to use triggers every time that they prompted, but you actually don't have to. So this is the color trigger that plays a character from the trash onto the field. So I'm debating this and I'm like, man, I don't really want to do this, but I do it anyways. And just to let you know, you don't actually have to do it, but it's Uryu, so it's not actually that bad. I am going to draw one, trash one right there, get rid of that Renji, and then block that double damage character on the field. And so now we go into my turn. So now going in this one, going to be starting it off with an extra draw. Do I have another Bankai in hand? I might not have another Bankai in hand, and the reason that I did that was because of the board being filled, right? Like, I don't have more places to put characters, and I don't really have great characters to, like, raid on. So I think that's one of the big things that I'm thinking alongside in this play. So going to be going around, I want to get rid of the Toshiro, right? Because the Toshiro is always a problem, being a 4,000 power character. It's always either going to KO a body on my side of the field, or it's going to net a life. So definitely want to get Suga Tensho and get rid of that character, force him to have another Toshiro raid potentially. And I'm actually going to raid with this Ichigo. So I'm double checking the numbers. I don't know if I fully love the Ichigo raid, and honestly, is that legal? So I did actually double check in the FAQ, the official FAQ for Union Arena right here. Always want to double check the FAQs. If a character is frozen from the Toshiro and then rated on top of, it does switch to active because of abilities affecting the base card lose their effect when raid is performed on it. So that's really good to know, actually. I definitely don't want to break rules, especially in this tournament, but I'm really conflicted on whether or not I should have done this raid actually, and done not only the first part, but this second part. So the first part does give me an extra swing, so I do love that part, but this second part right here, I'm going to do the removal effect, and I'm going to get rid of these 6 cards to get rid of, or 7 cards, I'm sorry, or no, 6, because he didn't have 6 characters on the field. He's back at 3. I'm going to get rid of that Toshiro, and I don't really love that play. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I think the biggest reason that I did was because he already revealed Captain's Code, right? So if he plays another Captain's Code, he's probably going to be swinging like 4,500 on this character. So I didn't want that character to be able to get that swing, right? Because everything else here on the field, aside from this guy, is pretty small for the most part. He'd have to raid with another Toshiro, and he'd have to get a lot to get there, I feel like. So trying to force him to have it with like a small hand size, like only 1 card in hand. So I decided to do it. I don't know if it was totally correct to remove it, because honestly, like with these 3 swings right here, could just get some blocking going on. But with this Toshiro raid right here, I think I got lucky, because I think maybe the correct play was not to remove it, but it ended up being the correct play because he had this raid right here. So he actually doesn't have the energy to raid. I just did a little bit of double checking because this is a standing 1 energy character, so he only has 3 that he's generating right now. This character right here being 2 is in his front line, so I guess not necessarily punished overall, but definitely still deciding whether or not that was a good play. And then here's the 3,000 power and up trigger, or no, this is playing, right? And he accidentally goes through the trash head first until I say, oh, I think it's from hand. ends up not having any from hand. That's his color trigger of playing a character from hand, for anyone who doesn't know. So not having a character for play, he is going to go ahead and block with that 2500 character, leaving the 3000 power one in the active. And now I put him in this really weird spot, right, with the 3 action points of promoting bodies, right, because you only have about 2 life left, I think, in this, but you want to raid as well. So raiding would minimize the amount of bodies that you get on the field, right? Because you're going to have to play down more bodies to generate energy, and especially after that energy is gone. So it's like this really weird like limbo area for him right now that I've put him in, especially because of that removal. So maybe the removal in hindsight was a good idea. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. He's going to play another one of those damage 2 characters right there on the field. Going to be generating enough energy, and is going to go ahead with that Toshiro raid because he doesn't have 6 13 core characters other than that Toshiro. He is going to only be able to rest one of my characters on the front line. So he's going to go ahead, probably do that Ichigo again. Yeah, again, that just being a great idea with that Ichigo. And with 1 action point left, let's see what he does. But I'm sitting pretty right now, I think, at this point. So is going to go ahead. Oh, and he plays that. I forgot that he played that. So I think he did also take out one of the other rated characters. So again, going back to what I said, now I have 2 more cards in trash in comparison to 1 if you get rid of the Rukia right there. So is going to go ahead a 2-on-2. He's going to take 1 life, I think, out of this, which is okay in my opinion. I want to keep my bodies on the field, so I'm going to take this one. It's going to be that Ichigo. Not going to do anything except go to the trash. He's actually got 3 life left. I'm sorry, I thought he was at 2 right there. So he is going to be at 3. I am going to go ahead and draw 1. I think I have the potential to raid on this try, but I think what I'm thinking about doing is raiding with Renji, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. The Renji, because I only have 3 cards in the trash, I'm not going to be able to get that removal effect to get this guy off the field. So maybe there was a thought or two that I could have done where instead of the Toshiro, right, removing the Toshiro, I should have instead removed the smaller character to then, because I probably had one of the 2 pieces of the Renji in my hand, therefore have 1 more card in trash, right, or 2 more cards in trash to be able to use off the Renji removal. So I think that's kind of a misplay in that situation. Probably just taking out the bodies are enough in that spot. You probably want to do the more minimum, but gets another trigger off of KOing one of my characters, gets rid of that Ichigo right there. One of the swings, again, a good spot for him. And then this Rukia swing, he's really thinking about it, and he is going to do it. He is going to take that life right there at the end of my turn, and especially against this deck, right? You know that I'm playing these starter deck Ichigos. I think I've only revealed 2 up to this point, so you know that I'm potentially playing another starter deck Ichigo that has the impact. If I have impact, I win the game. If you don't have a final trigger, right, a final 0 trigger, which he's already played 2 Bankais, I think, so the odds are actually pretty low at this point if he has Bankai, but we'll see exactly where it goes. It is a close game, and it definitely is close when you have 2 of those special triggers in life, definitely helping him out a ton in this one, minimizing the amount of bodies that I have on the field, amount of blockers, but kind of putting him on the front now, especially if I don't have that impact, because if you just put up bodies and you apply pressure, right, you might be able to sneak out of this game. But is going to put that 2500 character up front and only got 2 energy right now. I think he's kind of talking it out with me of like, oh man, it doesn't feel like a good spot with all your 4K bodies on the field. And he's going to put up this gal as well, just to be another swing. And so he's going to go ahead and play down 1 body. What is that card that he played? I don't even know what card that is at this point, but it is going to be something that at least generates him an energy, I think. And I think he's talking about like the sequence of the actual swings of what it could do. So is going to be thinking about and is just going to go in not having another character to be able to play on here. So if I could just survive this turn, I'll be all right. And there's a Raid Ichigo removal. I'll just put that in my hand right now. If I have a Ichigo in my hand, any kind of Ichigo, it's probably going to win me the game at this point. So going to swing with her, and I am going to block it right there. Is going to swing that guy. I am going to block that as well. I think this is probably a mistake by me. I was playing for like a Getsuga Tensho or something of my own, but I think what I should have done is I should have blocked this first swing instead of taking the life. So then I would take the life off of this Toshiro, because then I would be at 1 life and 3 bodies on the field instead of now 1 life and 2 bodies on the field. I think I was pretty greedy on that play. I think that's a huge misplay that definitely could cost me the game, but I think I have an Ichigo and the Raid Ichigo in my hand. So as long as I play an Ichigo down, this promote right here is going to get me 4 characters. And so there's that Ichigo right there, going to be drawing, or not drawing one, looking at the top deck, thinking, does it actually matter on there, and do I want to build up my trash? How many cards do I have the trash? And Getsuga Tensho is not really going to help me in a sense right now, so just playing all of these Ichigos down to build up my trash a little bit. Going to be discarding 2, and I'm going to get rid of the best possible situation for me in this game. I'm going to get rid of 8 to get rid of that Toshiro right there, that 4,000 power character. So we'll see exactly what's off of this last life. A Bankai or something could spell trouble. Could be another of those removal cards, but going to be this 4 first. Going to be another 4. Going to block off of that. The Urahara going to swing now on this one. He's going to just go ahead and block, and the Renji is going to take this last life. Going to be a Captain's Coat, which is not going to be what gets him the win. And so I think honestly I gotta it was definitely interesting in this match, because he found a lot of the KO cards compared to my one event, and he found 2 of them off life and played another one in hand, and then 2 more Toshiros on top of that, 1 being in life. Got to raid twice, do the entire backline, I believe, on the first one, and the second one just another active. Really minimized the amount of swings that I had every single turn, which provided a lot of problems in that game. So not a perfect game. Definitely could have cleaned that up. There's definitely some spots that I kind of struggled with a little bit, and hopefully that shows you a little bit of how strong this deck is, especially in this matchup, right? Because I think he had a pretty decent time with the matchup. He never saw Unohana stuff, but was still able to produce a lot of different bodies and even apply a little bit of pressure as well on me in the game, especially with those 2 damage guys. I think the 2 damage guys and the impact are pretty good, especially if, you know, he spread the impact out a little bit on that one turn. But thank you again so much for watching. We have 5 more rounds that we still have to review, but I'll put those as videos in the coming days. Thank you again so much for watching. Let me know your comments below of maybe other plays that you would have done, or maybe if you saw something that you're like, oh man, I didn't realize XYZ until you talked about it or something. You know, I'm always up for conversation, especially when it's analyzing my own gameplay. So thank you again so much for watching. Appreciate you, and hope to see you in the next one.